What's up? This is Max Sinclair here. I'm going to be covering a really important bit of basics around Google Ads today, and that is keyword match types. So what are keyword match types? What are the different kinds that are available to you? What's the benefits and the weaknesses of those? And then near the end of the video, I'm going to be finishing with 2 additional factors that I think are really crucial to remember, that really often the pros really only consider these points. And so if you can get your head around them, it will really bring you to another level when considering how to use keyword match types.
I'm on a new level.
So let's dig straight into it. Let's get started. So firstly, what are keyword match types? Keyword match types, broadly speaking, are the different types of keyword matching systems built into Google. So when you put a keyword in, that might be, let's just say, paid ads agency. That's a keyword. So it doesn't necessarily mean one word, it just means a combination of words. And then how does Google look at paid ads agency? Does it spread around that and look for stuff that's similar to paid ads agency? Or do you want to just show up on specifically people searching for paid ads agency? So this is how you manage this, is through keyword match types. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, let's do it.
And so what are the 3 main match types? There is broad, phrase, and exact. So broad, the broadest.
Wow.
Phrase in the middle. Exact is the tightest that you can get. There used to be lots of other things. There used to be broad match modified. There used to be little plus signs you could stick on. You could do all sorts of things, but they've cleared a lot of that away now, and they've now just got those 3 main types of match types to consider. So now let's look into each of these individually and look at the way they work, and then also actually the benefits of that and the weaknesses behind each of them. So let's start with broad match. So let's go with the definition from Google first, because that's always really good to look at. Their documentation is really helpful. So it says, ads may show on searches that are related to your keyword, which can include searches that don't contain the keyword terms. This helps you attract more visits to your website, spend less time building keyword lists, and focus your spending on keywords that work. Broad match is the default match type that all your keywords are assigned because it is the most comprehensive. That means you don't have to specify another match type like exact, phrase, or a negative match type. So this is Google saying it's anything related to paid ads agency. So paid ads agency, for example, is related to sustainable agencies or SEO agencies, because we're all agencies. And it's also connected to how to learn about paid ads or Facebook ads, a tutorial. It can be all sorts of things which are nothing to do with the actual phrase paid ads agency. It's just stuff that's broadly around it. And this, what's important too, is that it very specifically says that it doesn't have to contain even the keyword terms. So even if it says paid ads agency, it could be SEO consultancy, and you could technically, very possibly, show up for that, because in Google's world, with the smart system it has behind, is this big computer.
A machine? Like a robot?
It understands that these 2 things are related in a very broad way. And so that's why you can end up showing up for things which are not even the keyword that you've set. And of course, Google says, it always tries to sell you all of these things that it knows best. So just leave it as broad match and it can find all the good stuff for you if you just set maximize conversions. But that's generally not the case, and you generally will very likely be wasting a lot of money on this. This is my view on broad match, is that we use it extremely sparsely. We use it, say in an average account, we might have 1 or 2 broad match keywords in a very niche situation separately. I actually just did a great video on this on an Explorer campaign, which is where we use broad match to try to find all these other ideas. But generally speaking, unless you're spending hundreds of thousands every month in ad spend, you probably can use phrase and exact match to have less wastage, have less useless searches, because the entire game of Google is to try to show up for the very best searches possible and hone that in, and that will be how you get really good ROAS. So my general view of broad match is it's just too broad. It's allowing Google to do whatever the hell it wants with your money and just wander off into places which aren't really relevant for your business, for your service, or for your product. Now let's look at phrase match. So let's go for the definition first again. Ads may show on searches that include the meaning of your keyword. The meaning of the keyword can be implied, and user searches can be a more specific form of the meaning. With phrase match, you can reach more searches than with exact match and fewer searches than with broad match, only showing your ads on the searches that include your product or service. So this is the in-between. So it's the meaning of the keyword. So let's just say paid ads agency is the keyword. You would still be showing up for things like paid advertising agency or PPC agency potentially, or social media marketing agency. Lots of things that Google thinks are the same meaning as paid ads agency. They might not be, but Google says that it thinks that, and in many cases it's correct. Like it is accurate in that. So this is the in-between. So this is my view on it. I like phrase match a lot.
It's incredible.
In terms of it does give you a good volume of traffic, but it is a lot more tight than broad. It's a little less ridiculous, and so it's a nice one to use in many cases, depending on a few other factors that I'll go into later in the video. It does still have wastage though. It does still put you in front of things that just aren't right. Like let's say us as a paid ads agency, let's just say we didn't do Google ads, but we did do Facebook ads. Maybe we would call ourselves a social paid ads agency or a social paid advertising agency. Google might put us in front of PPC agency, which is a bit more of a term that you would use for Google ads. So if we weren't running Google ads, of course I do use Google ads for clients. I run an agency, by the way. I haven't mentioned that yet today.
Oh God, not again.
Okay.
If we were not running Google ads, then of course that click is not relevant for us. Maybe it's a similar meaning, but it's not actually the same meaning. So Google's messed up, but it often does that, and that's this phrase match, that it does have a little bit of wastage to it, so you still need to be pretty hot on the negative keywords. Finally, let's look at the exact match. So definition first, ads may show on searches that have the same meaning or same intent as the keyword. Of the three keyword matching options, exact match gives you the most control over who views your ad, but reaches fewer searches than both phrase and broad match. So my view on this is it is the tightest. This is the most controlled you can be. It is called exact match. So by definition, you would think it should be pretty exact. Even this though does still have that same meaning disclaimer basically. So even when you're doing paid ads agency, an exact match, which is using these square brackets, I should have mentioned this before, phrase match is the quotes, exact match is the square brackets around it, broad match has nothing around it. So when you're using exact match, you are the closest and the tightest that you can possibly be, but that does lead to less volume. But overall, my view on it is it's awesome. It's one of the best ways to kind of have the tightest control possible.
I like this thing.
And let's just say, I think in most cases, especially people watching these videos who are trying to like get involved in Google Ads for themselves and get started, generally speaking, you very likely are starting with say 500 to maybe £2,000-3,000 of ad spend or dollars of ad spend. And so at that kind of budget, you very likely can find a good collection of keywords, set those into ad groups and set them all as exact match and be able to find enough searches, enough volume to spend your £1,000-2,000 worth of ad spend. You generally, this talk about phrase and in broad having the ability to find more volume is true, but in many cases, especially when you're starting, you don't need that much volume. And so that additional volume is generally just less specific. So exact match means that you're going to keep more of your budget on that more exact, tight kind of barrier, a little net. It's a smaller net. That's one of the ways I really like to think of it, is you've got one huge wide net with broad, phrase is that smaller net, and then exact match is this really tight, as focused it can be. You could call it a spear or whatever, but really it's still a net. Like they still let some crap in, but it's the best that you can get. So on those two final factors to cover, one of those is the length of the keyword. So of course we have keyword match types that we're talking about today, but the keywords themselves are really important. If you'd like a video in more detail about that topic, then please do leave a comment or send me an email if you want to have a conversation about it in more detail. I'm happy to answer questions. max@snowballcreations.com. That's for my agency, snowballcreations.com. But ultimately, keywords are really important, and one of the important things to think about when you're considering match types is how long that keyword is. Because if I did paid ad agency, that's a 3-word thing. If I did ad agency, that's a 2-word. If I did positive impact paid ads agency or London-based paid ads agency, that's like 5-6 words in a single keyword. And so the longer the keyword, the less volume it will have, because of course there is a lot less people searching for UK-based ad agency comparative to ad agency. And so when you're trying to think about how much volume you might need, if it's a much longer keyword, then you might need to lean more on phrase match. And in some cases, if you have really low search volume throughout your kind of network, like maybe you're something that people don't search for that much, then you might need to use broad match. But generally then, if it's a shorter keyword like ad agency, that could still potentially work out for us as an agency, for example, with exact match, because it's tight enough that people, if they are literally searching ad agency, then they may still be a good customer for us. I probably would still be more specific, and we are more specific in our own Google ads that we run. But that is the best way to look at it, is think about how long the keyword is in terms of how many words are involved in it, and then use that as the basis of which ones of these to use as well. But generally speaking, phrase and exact are still your favorites. Another kind of like summary point on this is that generally speaking, when you look at our clients that we're currently managing, it's generally like 70% phrase, maybe say 28% exact, and then the last percent or so is broad match. So barely using broad match, mostly phrase, and then a good chunk of exact. And the very last point to cover, which is really important, which the pros understand, the real pros, not the people that have started an agency and don't know what the hell they're doing and love to burn your cash. We're talking about people that have trained in Google Ads for years. They understand this well, is that negative keyword match types are managed differently. So it's really important to understand that Google's game is to try to get as much money out of you as possible. So on the side of setting keywords to be searched on in the front end, then Google wants to let as much through as possible. It wants to let the floodgates open as much as it can, and that's why it's made broad, phrase, and exact broader over the years. So exact used to be exact, and phrase used to be the phrase had to be in it, but that's no longer the case.
Well, that's just stupid.
Nowadays, phrase and exact are way more broad, and that's because Google's always trying to let more traffic through, because then it can make more money out of you and use more of your budget. But the negative keyword side is obviously stopping searches, so it's cutting those, it's putting more floodgates in to slow the water, to slow that traffic. So Google doesn't want that. So in terms of how phrase and broad and exact work within negative keywords, they are much more what they used to be, which is exactly as they are described, so a phrase match. So you have to be more aggressive, if anything, with the negatives to block things. But the only thing I would say, and always caution on this, is do be very careful with your negatives, because once you block something as a negative, you never see it in your data again, and so you'll never know if you're actually accidentally blocking something which could be a good search. So just always be cautious of that. Again, if you wanted me to go into more detail about negative keywords and how to create them, how to set them up, then please do let me know, and I'd love to do a video on that too. So summary, yes, I love phrase match, I love exact match.
I love it, thank you.
I barely use broad match unless it's in something like an Explorer campaign. This is a really important topic to get right. I see so many people do it wrong. If you need more help, then my agency does this for people all the time, so just get in touch. My website is snowballcreations.com, and obviously I'll put links into the description of this video. And otherwise, there's lots of other videos like this on my channel that'll help you to understand Google Ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, and also marketing more broadly, startups, organization, discipline, making yourself be the best self you can be. I love all of that stuff, so I do videos on all those different topics just because I enjoy it. And please do subscribe. I love it when anybody joins the channel. And otherwise, I will see you in the next one.
Thank you.